we congratulate you on this day, and it is now my pleasure to introduce, our principal speaker. I'm sorry, no, our student speaker. Mr. Saleh gave me a script of how he wanted to be introduced, consistent with his thoroughness on such affairs. But actually, Mr. Saleh, I see you misplaced it. I'm sorry. So I will wing this one. I don't need a script to say a few words about Mr. Saleh. Mr. Saleh is a longtime activist in governance matters. As you all know, he was until recently the president of our Student Bar Association. I recently had an occasion on his the last SBA meeting in which he presided to visit an SBA meeting. I thought I had troubles presiding over a independently minded and sometimes cantankerous deliberative body when I dealt with faculty meetings. Mr. Saleh, you had me beat. You were just trying to give up the gavel. And the parliamentary procedure invoked was worthy of General Robert in Robert's Rules of Order. Mr. Saleh has previously been student body president of all his previous educational institutions, including Rutgers undergraduate, and he is a longtime native of Jersey City. So with that, I introduce your elected student speaker, Mr. Yousef Saleh.
Thank you, Dean Chen. Thank you, class of 2015, for this amazing honor. I'd like to welcome our esteemed Rutgers faculty and staff. Some of you are racing against the clock in a final heroic attempt to submit all the grades before the speech is over. We're hoping against hope that the Wi-Fi doesn't give out like it did during finals. I want to extend a warm welcome to our honored guests, whose writings we have pored over and carefully blue-booked over these last few years. LensCrafters thanks you for keeping them in business. Welcome to all our family, friends, mentors, both in our midst and close to our hearts. They have played an impactful role in making sure this momentous day happened. Our loved ones prophesied this day that we'd become lawyers when we first tried to negotiate our curfews using a 4-part balancing test. Or when we broke curfew and prayed for injunctive relief. Let's not forget all the special little kids in the crowd today who are probably baffled by this grandiose ceremony and the Hogwarts attire. If this is your first foray into the law, just remember, every time you hear "silly rabbit, tricks are for kids," well, those kids are discriminating on the basis of age, a category which receives rational basis scrutiny from the U.S. Supreme Court. It basically means it's all cool and passes constitutional muster. I know, it's a messed up world. Last but certainly not least, welcome graduates of the Rutgers Law Class of 2015. Today, you are dauntless. Today, you are indomitable. In the whirlwind of finals, preparation for festivities and the bar exam, you probably haven't even yet to allow yourself to bask in this moment. I certainly haven't. So let's all please take a moment to let this moment settle in. A moment that now ties us all to a community of professionals and advocates, even as we prepare to embark on our own journeys. Think about it. Others would have buckled before the finish line, but you all with your sheer force of will and subsisting on a colorful diet of ramen noodles, Robert's pizza, Red Bull, box of wine, whatever scraps of random food were left in the atrium for a suspiciously long time. You marched on right here to your rightful place with us today. Truly, this combination of sleep deprivation, risky but voracious snacking, and the inevitable printer crisis that reduced you to a bowl of tears in the law library, this would have surely crushed a weaker soul. Sure, some of you now have scurvy, but it was unquestionably worth it. Where's the mission accomplished banner when you really need one? We are dauntless, we are indomitable, and we're ready. But we couldn't have done this alone. No, fellow classmates, look around the room here today. We are the grateful recipients of unconditional love, patient love, forgiving love, and relentless love. Everyone in this room today is here for us, and this victory is as much their moment as it is ours. Just as we are bound as colleagues from this day forward, our loved ones are connected to one another, all part of an eclectic group of people knitted together by our mutual foresight to push for more, push for better, not only for the short-sighted, transient moment, but for generations down the line. People have crossed oceans and continents to get here and witness this day. By God, they even dared to take NJ Transit. The highest praise and the most gratitude should go to our parents, friends, family, mentors, and loved ones here today, for which their sacrifice knew no limits. I would personally like to thank my loving parents, who supported me through thick and thin with every fiber of their being so that I could stand before you today. Thank you, Mom and Dad. We will continue to draw strength from our loved ones and owe it to them to never ever take them for granted. There are also special people who could not physically be present with us today, either due to illness or their unfortunate passing, for which no grand hall and no amount of words could pay proper homage. Class of 2015, you all deserve Academy Awards, because if something was ever wrong, you hit it well. Many of you lost mothers, fathers, dearest of friends, grandparents, aunts and uncles. We've lost significant others we thought we'd be spending the rest of our lives with, and we sometimes silently lost our sense of purpose. During our darkest hours, who among us hasn't asked, why did we come to law school? For me, it all occurred last summer when my dear Uncle Nimmer passed from lung cancer, and one of my oldest and bestest friends, Dustin Dino Basillo. He knew the tax code better than Al Capone's accountant, and he inspired me to take the tax clinic run by the patient and expert guidance, Professor Bloom and Sandy Freund. These amazing people, whether they're here with us today or not, are pillars of inspiration, and they are still valiant sources of guidance moving us forward. They help us remember our why. We must, however, look to the other side of the ledger. We have absolutely gained each other. We've gained lifelong allies, best friends, warriors, not only in the courtroom, but champions for each other, lifting each other as we climb. And we are now armed with a new way of thinking and deconstructing the world around us so that we are not just passively consuming the spoon-fed conventional wisdom. We have met new people, some of us got engaged, even married, and gave birth to some beautiful junior esquires. Shout out to all the student mama bears who juggled case books and baby bottles. We also gained another bow in our quiver, with this new law degree giving us the power to transform not only our lives and the lives of our friends and families, but the beloved communities from which we hail. The truth is, we've breathed rarefied air here at Rutgers Law, and I'm not talking about the strange gas smell in room 70. It was a privilege to be here, and part of this intellectual community firmly grounded in its values. So it is incumbent upon us to take what we've learned here, fuse it with our diverse experiences, and shock this world right outside the gates, right out of complacency. We are poised to shock this world that would sooner prefer we succumb to cynicism and paralysis of purpose. As the social engineers of our nation, the catalysts of change who work within the system and walk the hollowed institutions of our most powerful places in government and business, we must stay vigilant against those that wish to seek to cabin our rights and liberties. We operate in the thin-grained line between anarchy and peace, between self-help and justice. We may find ourselves perhaps in the future Thanksgivings either explaining our efforts to represent a multinational corporation, or save the life of someone on death row, or help an upstart entrepreneur make her dreams come true. And of course, there'll be a few friends and loved ones who have us on speed dial ready to do anything with a pulse or a certificate of incorporation. But in all seriousness, throughout this year, we have been able to see both the forest and the trees of our legal system, the sensational headlines and television dramas versus the everyday reality of the law. We toiled away to help our clients and clinics and lend our eager hands in nearly 20,000 hours worth of pro bono projects, poring over contracts and procedural minutiae, and working patiently to free a wrongly convicted man as the constitutional law clinic students had done. All the while, our nation saw an unprecedented national conversation about the overt and subtle criminalization of black bodies in public spaces, rising to the highest levels of our government. This national conversation finally gave rise to other critical questions about developments that had quietly and steadily went unabated for years. The militarization of our police forces, local police forces. Striking images of tanks rolling down Midwestern streets. The neglect of communities in economic blight. The debates also were spirited within our halls and classrooms here at Rutgers. Some hailed the importance of upholding the law and order and supporting our most venerated institutions. Others pointed out how historically the unrestrained use of force against a population will not succeed, will never succeed, and erodes any trust in the system, whether in Ferguson, Baltimore, or the Gaza Strip. We challenge each other without flinching, emerge sharper, more pragmatic, and more ethical stewards of the law, and yet all the more empathetic for it. As lawyers, we will not be giving voice to the voiceless. We know better. We are aware that there are beleaguered individuals and marginalized groups that do have voices, and indeed have been shouting from the rooftops. But we will be offering our unique skill set and experiences to finally amplify those voices for past due acknowledgement. Every time we suspect we've gotten jaded, we'll only reach deeper within ourselves. And so, these voices will reach a crescendo, finally made manifest through our tireless advocacy. That is why I say to you today that we are dauntless, we are indomitable, and we are past ready. And so, Rutgers has been a diligent and generous teacher, arming us with a bounty of lessons. Rutgers has made great strides and stayed true to its mission statement through its minority student program, its clinics, and similar initiatives. Rutgers law does not rest on its laurels. It echoes those societal goods well into our futures. We know that progress will be slow, and Rutgers has thankfully beat the patience into us by making us wait the day before classes to release the course schedule. Our maneuvering around the scarlet tape. There are more deans at the law school than Greek gods and goddesses on Mount Olympus. We have forged great bonds of camaraderie, from our very spirited 1L buddy mixer to the intense Barbie versus Captain Wars that waged out in the atrium and then spilled into the capstone course. And while the rest of the Northeast Seaboard comfortably binged on Netflix and wine, Rutgers marched us right into the middle of blizzard apocalypse that not even all the CGI in Hollywood could recreate. We braved the snow, trekking over 100 miles, or we were pregnant, or in crutches, or all three at the same time. We came here, we attended class, scurvy and all. That's more than Napoleon Bonaparte's army could say when they crossed the Russian tundra. And I'm sure if Napoleon had sophisticated satellite weather radar, he would have at least delayed that invasion or canceled class. They say that those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. At Rutgers, we know history. We're gonna repeat it, and we're gonna force our own outcome. And so, here is our outcome here today. We wear this regalia, diploma in hand, heavy with its symbolism, yet oddly feeling lighter than air. And after we give out the hugs and say our farewells, feeling this chapter drawing to a close, we wonder how much of these lessons we will retain. In life, there is great uncertainty, but one thing is certain going forward. We will all continuously hear Dean Rosner's voice as we take the bar exam, bellowing into our ear, "It's not A, it's B! No, that's a sucker choice!" I'll tell you what was not a sucker choice, coming to Rutgers. For this, we are truly blessed. And what's clear to us today is that arriving at Rutgers Law School a few summers ago was a life-altering choice and the first substantive step in solidifying our intellectual and professional lives. Most importantly, it was the backdrop for us making so many beautiful memories together. Surely there will be many more memories to be had outside of these walls. Our legacies will be great and will forever be linked to one another and this great institution. We are dauntless. We are indomitable, and we have finally crossed the finish line together. And now we celebrate. Congratulations, class of 2015, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Saleh. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the faculty speaker, Professor Laura Cohen. Professor Cohen is Clinical Professor of Law, the Justice Virginia Long Scholar, and the Director of the Criminal and Youth Justice Clinic.